You see your friend in trouble and you want to do the right thing. You want to help them, but you are unsure of how to approach it, of how to approach this delicate situation because it is probably a very important friendship and you don't want to ruin the relationship, whether it's a sister or brother or anyone. When you see your friend doing something wrong, the Chafetz Chaim tells us there are seven conditions we must meet in order to speak lashon hara, which is negative speech about that person. And it is actually a mitzvah. It's a good deed in order to speak about them. However, you must meet these seven conditions, and it is a mitzvah to repeat this lashon hara in order to make sure that it is constructive and helpful. Make sure these seven conditions are met. Condition number one, the person that has committed this negative action must been witness to do so. For example, you saw your friend driving recklessly down the street, carelessly. You saw for sure, or you did thorough investigation and you know your friend engaged in reckless driving. Number two, you must be certain that the person actually did something wrong. If your friend was driving on a rainy day and it was really hazardous weather conditions, you can't say that your friend for sure was a reckless driver because it was the weather just permitted a person and to drive recklessly. It was part of the conditions that were given. So you can't for sure say that your friend was a reckless driver. Perhaps the car skidded a little bit, and we can't make that assumption. Number three, before telling others, you must first speak with the guilty party in a soft tone and convince them to mend their ways. So you would approach your friend and say, I really noticed you weren't driving very carefully. Is it possible that you may need more practice before you start driving alone? And you advise them to practice more in a soft, caring tone. When relating, this is number four, when relating what happened, he must be careful not to exaggerate. If your friend only engages in reckless driving when your friend is turning corners on the street, then perhaps they just need to practice that. It doesn't mean that they are a reckless driver necessarily. It could mean that. But don't exaggerate. Don't say, they're not careful about driving, they're dangerous on the road, just because they can't turn the corners. So don't exaggerate. Number five, the person's sole purpose in relating what happened must be correct. And it must be to correct the wrong, not out of hatred or any other personal reason. In other words, you must ask yourself, do you have a reason to hate this person? Have you had negative encounters with this person, negative experiences? Have you ever been upset at this person? Because your intentions have to be pure, just to be helpful. Helpful because you are concerned about the well-being of this person. You're concerned for them out of pure concern and love. But if it's not coming out of concern and pure intentions, then perhaps there are other intentions, because people usually bear a grudge, and it's very difficult not to bear a grudge when we have negative encounters with others. Number six, there's no other way to correct the wrong. So let's say you as a friend decided to contact your friend's parents and say, you know what, your daughter, is not really careful driving on the road. So the goal is to correct the wrong. So you try to directly speak to your friend. However, your friend has refused to listen and continues to drive recklessly. So then you speak to the parents of your friend. And the last condition, number seven, by relating the lashon hara, the speaker must not cause the guilty party to suffer consequences that are unfair. For example, your friend's parents will refuse to give back the car keys until your friend engages in safer driving patterns. Obviously, that's a healthy way to respond to the situation a fair way. However, if you know that the parents will most likely lock your friend up in the room without any food and drink for a day, then perhaps you should not contact your friend's parents and instead contact the Rav or someone who you know will influence the person, your friend, in a positive way. And the person actually looks up to this person. So we want to be careful in how we speak about others' misdeeds, because yes, we are concerned and yes, we care, and we have to make sure that these 7 conditions are met. And all we are asked to do is do the best that we can. All that we are asked to do is do the best that we can with our deeds and with our words. And I want to share with you a story about a girl named Annette. She was a young girl from France, and she really wanted to get married. And she moved to Jerusalem for a little bit. She stayed at her cousin's house. At that time, she was around 38 years old and still not married. So she came to a rabbi's house, and I will quote, his name is Rav Yisachar Meir. We're taking this from the book The Spark of a Story by Rabbi Sparrow. And she comes to him for a bracha. She comes to him to ask him what should she do. And he tells her you have to read certain chapters of Tehillim, and the chapters are 8, 13, 22, and 50. She speaks French, so she had to read the chapters, and she left. 30 days later, exactly 30 days later, she comes knocking on the door of the rabbi, and someone answers the door, and they tell her, you know what, we can't really have the rabbi talk to you now. What would you like to say? She says, I have great news. I became a kala. And for sure, they send the news, the amazing, incredible news to the rabbi, and she thanked him through the messenger. And that messenger was also able to speak French. And they asked the girl, wait a minute, you speak French. You weren't able to say Tehillim, weren't you? Because you don't speak Hebrew. So how is it that you said Tehillim? And this is what she said, and I quote, I did exactly as I was told, following my orders to the T. Every day, I sat down and directed my words to my Creator. Almighty in heaven, chapter 8, chapter 13, chapter 22, and chapter 50. Then I cried to him and pleaded, Hashem, please help me build a Jewish home. I really want a husband and children. As you can see from this story, we are only asked to do what we can. Hashem can do anything at any time. So if he sees that we really want something, he's going to give it to us. May we merit to control our actions and our deeds only for the well-being of ourselves and others. Leah Abramov, Being and Becoming.